Please rise as you are able. I now call this meeting of City Council to order.
The City of Barrie acknowledges the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people, which include the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge the Wendat Nation Huron, who occupied these lands prior to the middle of the 17th century. We're dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and recognizing the enduring presence of Indigenous peoples in this land. We're committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. You may be seated. Well, welcome to Barrie City Council. We're starting about 25 minutes late here on Wednesday, May 14th. Tonight we have two student mayors to be sworn in, and that is Lincoln Holland representing Urban Village Academy and Stroud McGregor representing St. Monica's Catholic School. So I'll call upon Tracy McDonald, our Deputy Clerk, to swear in our incoming student mayors.
So just repeat after me, please. I, Lincoln Holland, having been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of May 14th, 2025 to June 4th, 2025, do solemnly promise and declare.
I, Lincoln Holland, having been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of May 14th, 2025 to June 4th, 2025, do solemnly promise and declare.
I, Stroud McGregor, having been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of May 14th, 2025 to June 4th, 2025, do solemnly promise and declare.
I, Stroud McGregor, have been elected to the office of Student Mayor for the period of May 14th, 2025 to June 4th, 2025, do solemnly promise and declare.
That I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability.
That I truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability.
That I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner.
That I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward of or promise, therefore, of the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or any other improper manner.
That I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act.
That I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict or Interest Act.
And that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III.
And that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III.
And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
And I make this solemn promise and declare conscientiously believing it to be true, knowing that it is the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Well, Lincoln and Stroud, welcome to Barrie City Council. I know that Deputy Mayor Thompson and Councillor Negussi will be able to provide you any questions or answers to questions as you take your seats as the student mayors for the City of Barrie. We're going to introduce members of council. We're going to go backwards this week, and we'll start with the Ward 10 councillor.
Caught me right off
Keeping you
guard
on your toes there.
there. Apologies. Nice to meet you both and welcome. My name is Bryn Hamilton and I'm the Ward 10 counselor.
Welcome to Council, Your Worships. I'm Sergio Morales, the Ward 9 counselor and St. Monica's class of 2007.
Welcome, Lincoln and Stroud. I am Jim Harris, counselor for Ward 8.
Welcome to the City Council. My name is Negussi, Ward 6 Councillor.
Congratulations to you both. My name is Robert Thompson. I'm the Ward 5 Councillor and also the Deputy Mayor, or known as Deputy Dude.
Welcome aboard. I'm Amy Corser, the Ward 4 Councillor for the City of Barrie.
Congratulations on your roles as student mayor. Good to have you with us. I'm Anne Marie Kungle, the Ward 3 counselor.
Welcome, Lincoln and Stroud. I am Craig Nixon. I am the counselor in Ward 2.
And welcome, your worships. My name is Claire Rietma, and I'm the counselor for Ward 1.
And my name is Alex Nuttall. I serve as mayor in the City of Barrie, so welcome to you both. You have two former student mayors around the table as well, and myself and Councillor Morales, who both served as student mayors, one for St. Joseph's and one for St. Peter's. We're going to move into the next phase of our meeting at this point, and to the confirmation of the minutes from the City Council meeting on May the 7th. They've been circulated. Are any corrections from the meeting minutes? I'm seeing none, so those are approved as printed. We're going to go past awards and recognition and reports from officers into deputations this evening. And we have one deputation from David Hembrough on behalf of the residents of Madeline Drive concerning 25G115 Madeline Drive Road Diet, Mapleview Drive to Yonge Street in Ward 9. And I'd like to call upon Mr. Hembrough to come to the podium at this point to make the presentation. Sir, in accordance with the procedural bylaw, we have about 5 minutes. If you run through that, I unfortunately have to cut you off, and it's not because I'm a mean person. It's just the rules.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Thank you, Council and student mayors, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening to address this very briefly. As my wife will tell you, I'm not an expert in a lot of fields, but I have been designated as an expert witness in the courts of Ontario for the purposes of traffic regulation and regulating traffic. I was an Ontario police officer for 30 years and live on the subject street of Madeline Drive. There's 3 schools associated with Madeline Drive, the French school, the high school at Big Bay Point and Mapleview, which intersects with Madeline, and the Mapleview Heights Public School, elementary school in the vicinity of Esther and Madeline. 2 things have increased the traffic and speed on Madeline Drive in recent years. I have been a resident there on Madeline for some 13 years and watched the problem evolve. The first thing was we had a 4-way stop at Madeline Drive and Esther, and that was removed and replaced with traffic signals. And unfortunately, speeding people watch the pedestrian countdown at the crosswalk and use that as a gauge to increase their speed to beat the light. So when the traffic lights were put in, actually it increased the problem for speeding on Madeline Drive. The second area of concern was that when we received the annexed land from Innisfil on the south end of Madeline Drive at Madeline, the volume of traffic increased exponentially. There's an estimated 500 to 1,000 cars now in that subdivision, which come north on Madeline Drive to do their shopping and visitations at the liquor store. So those two areas are the main concern of volume, which has increased the speed exponentially. If people would obey the speed rules, we wouldn't have this problem. In the last 2 years, I have personally attested to 12 motor vehicle accidents at the intersection of Country Lane and Madeline. I have videos to substantiate that because I live right at that location. One such speeding car went across my property, smashed into the car beside me, and pushed it into the greenbelt. It did substantial damage and personal injury, and then the driver fled the scene. This is an ongoing problem on Madeline, and the mayor has been very good to personally contact me in the past with an attempt to address that. My situation is that I've spoken to many people, and they're all concerned about the new diet situation that's coming to be. My opinion and expert opinion is that although that may be helpful, if there was a four-way stop at the intersection of Country Lane and Madeline Drive, it would in fact go a long way to stopping the speeding on the street. Another light at Country Lane, they'll just be timed out between that and the Esther light. Unfortunately, these people watch the crosswalk countdowns, and they use that as a gauge to beat the light, right? So the speeding is really horrendous on that street. If council decides to go ahead with the diet situation, which is much more expensive than a four-way stop sign, I would suggest that no parking be allowed on Madeline Drive for the simple reason that now you'll have one lane northbound, one lane southbound, and they will speed up to pass parked cars in the extra areas where they're parked on the northbound and the southbound. I've seen daily cars speed up the race to beat a parked car right now, and they have the 4 lanes. Well, if they only have 2 lanes and they're speeding up to do that, it's going to be a nightmare. There's children, as I said, there's 3 schools affected by this area, and they go up and down this street at great peril. I have grandchildren that in the past that lived with me, and it was in great peril to go up and down that street. So if we go ahead with the diet thing, it's more expensive than the 4-way stop at Country Lane. We can't change the lights at Esther because they're already in place, but in fact, that would cause them to have to stop. Now, there was some study done in the past where there was too much exhaust if people stop at stop signs, but there's stop signs all over the city that are effective. The cost for a diet lane is much more substantial than the cost for a 4-way stop. So I'll leave it in the good hands of you people to decide, but as a resident there, the traffic volume because of the annexed lands is now horrendous. The speeding has increased exponentially, and on the 2 times the police have been good enough to come to that location and work radar, they actually sat in my driveway with.
Sorry, sir, I apologize that the 5 minutes is up, but if you just hold for 1 second, is there any questions that members of council have? Yes, Councillor Kungle.
Can you comment on the findings of police that sat in your driveway, sir?
Read my mind.
Oh my goodness, that gives me another minute. They said they received the highest violation fines that they had for a residential area while they've been working radar in Barrie. There's no radar in Barrie in the evenings, and there's no police enforcement for radar on the weekends. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to go past the deputations now, as that was the only deputation that was requested, into committee reports. And that is where Deputy Mayor Thompson, you'll take over.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales, that Section A of the First General Committee Report dated May 7th now be circulated and adopted. Sorry.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson. It's seconded by Councilor Morales. So Section A of the First General Committee Report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated to be adopted. This is 25G087, potential acquisition of property matter, post-secondary institution. Any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales. Section B of the first general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, that Section B of the first general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be received. 25G088, presentation concerning confidential personal information matter, committee appointments. 25G089, confidential position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Intergovernmental affairs update. Any questions or concerns with regarding to the motion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? And that carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales, that Section C of the first general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, that Section C of the first general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted. This is 25G090, personal information matter, committee appointments. Any questions or concerns from members of council? I'm seeing Councilor Morales.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. They're bundled together, but I'll speak to 25-G-115 Madeline Drive Road Diet. This street, I'll tell you.
Sorry, Councilor, we're not there yet. That'll be in the second general committee report. We're in the first one.
We're in the first. Okay.
I apologize. Just
I have to refresh.
It'll be like 2 minutes and you're up.
No worries.
So this is on the actual committee appointments. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales, that Section A of the second general committee report dated May 7th, now circulated, be received.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, to Section A of the second general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be received. This is 25G092, report of the Affordability Committee dated April 16th, 2025. 25G093, report of the Infrastructure and Community Investment Committee dated April 30th, 2025. 25G094, report of the Finance and Responsible Governments Committee dated April 30th, 2025. 25G095, report of the Affordability Committee dated April 30th, 2025. Any questions or comments on those reports? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales, that Section B of the second general committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, to Section B of the second general committee report dated the 7th of May, 2025, now circulated, be adopted. And I'm just going to go through. So the referral by general committee on February 26th regarding the funding request for Bayview Park, committee name change, the adult entertainment bylaw with regards to burlesque, community project submissions from many councillors, about 10 of them. Do we need to go through them one by one, council? I think we've done that twice already, but okay. There is included in this the deferral of the conservation of built heritage community improvement plan. There's the St. Vincent Street Road Diet, Blake to Codrington. There's the Madeline Road Diet, Mapleview to Young. And there's a funding request for Allendale downtown transit hubs and Allendale Historic Train Station. There's also the downtown Barrie Business Improvement Area levy for Ward 2. Are there any questions or comments with regards to, I'm going to go to Councillor Morales first because you did have your hand up first, literally. So over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. So for Madeline Drive Road Diet, Mayor Nuttall, I'll tell you, this street is quite something. You know it through your parent, through your father. The residents of Madeline know it through the reality of the street. The only one I can really think of that has this, it's not just the width, it's not just a single detached homes, it's the curvature and the grade change. Livingston Street West between Ferndale and Ann Street is probably the closest I can get to of a comparison, and even then, not that it's a contest to see which one's worse, but this is really problematic. Members of Council, Mayor Nuttall, as you'll recall from the deputation, the comments that not the deputation, but the comments that I read from the residents last week, some were in favor of lights. Some were passively supportive, meaning, one of the letters I believe said, we know that the raised intersection is coming, and so that hopefully should work. So I'll call that a passive support. There's support for stop signs and not stoplights. There's support for road diet with parking bans, with no parking bans. Both exist, by the way. I believe, Councilor Corser, the street I just referenced in your ward does not have a parking ban, and neither does Mapleton, but Hurst Drive in Ward 10 does. So there's many flavors of ways of doing this, and I just wanted to hold this item because I know, Mayor Nuttall, yourself and I attended on the weekend and talked to some residents. Obviously, we couldn't talk to everybody, but this one is quite the situation. I may have a question for staff if you want to make some comments, even going from yours, but you're going to go to Councilor Corser? Okay, I'll leave it there for now. And, we're at council, so no. I have to say it now. To Ms. Banfield, why are we specifically asking for the approval because of Bill 212? Is it because we're taking away a driving lane? I thought it was taking away a driving lane to create a bike lane, but we're not creating bike lanes. It doesn't matter. It's just taking away a driving lane is Bill 212. Quick confirmation.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to Councilor Morales. That's correct.
Okay, perfect. I'll look forward to my colleagues' questions and comments on that, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Councilor Morales. I'll go to Councilor Corser.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. I actually was not going to comment on that. I had something to speak to a different item.
Yeah, can I explain just to the public? You're going to hear multiple things talked about at the same time because these are all the things that have been approved at the general committee meeting before. So this is not on the road diet on Madeline. Over to you, Councilor Corser.
No, something a little more mundane, I guess. I was just wondering about the change of committee name from, and now I can't find it because everything's kind of mixed up here, from active transportation and sustainability to simply sustainability. Oh, was it deferred?
Councilor, I think that was deferred. So in order for the question to be in order for me, it would need to be as to the deferral motion, which is the motion, not the name change itself.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, just carry on. I'll save my questions for later.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments with regards to the items on the floor? Councilor Kungle.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. And just a quick comment, because I know we ran through them quickly, but a point of clarification on 25G113. This is the deferral at General Committee on the Conservation of Built Heritage Community Improvement Plan. Just to clarify that we're not yet deferring it again. It had been deferred. We're now approving it as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, student mayors, if you're not confused right now, then we're not doing our job right, because we are. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Madeline Drive, to what Councilor Morales was speaking to. And, there's an issue with the way that Barrie was designed. And the issue is that we either turned local residential streets into arterials, or we turned arterials into local residential streets. And these things are combative in nature in the sense that, arterial roads try to move mass amounts of vehicles from A to B, and residential streets are the places that you go home to. And it doesn't matter if you're on Hurst, on Prince William Way, on Sandringham, Ward 10, on Madeline, on Dean, Livingston, I heard, Cundles at places. Like there's Hanmer's another one that's turned into an arterial at points, even though it's maybe not categorized that way. The city was not, in my opinion, planned out well when it came to how we were going to get people to move from A to B. In the Madeline example, because it's the one we're talking about tonight, if you're going down Mapleview Drive, and let's say you're going to Zares or to the LCBO, which I clearly have never been to, when you're going there, you know, normally in other cities, I would see there would be like an arterial route with a higher speed limit, and it would get you from A to B. In Barrie, everything's the same. And it creates these arterials on local residential streets. We've talked about this a number of times that are really difficult to deal with. And Hearst Drive is just a brutal street. Madeline is another brutal street. I would actually say that Madeline is worse because of the proximity to schools. And Hearst is a little bit further away from schools. So I don't know what the answer is. You know, for me, I think Mapleview Drive probably needs to go quicker. We need to define what the arterial roads are in the city and provide those laneways for folks to get around the city. And then we need to reduce the speed limits on the roads that are local residential streets. And we need to stop producing streets that have 4 lanes and houses on them. It just doesn't make sense. Trying to back out of a driveway while somebody's trying to use it as an arterial street doesn't make sense. You know, even the side streets that we visit on the weekend, and the side streets when you're in these areas, like when the complaints are going 5 doors down, right? And they're not even on the main part of the track, like that's an issue. That's showing how widespread the issue is. So there's a intersection raise going in. There's road dieting being looked at. You know, I'm sure we'll get a letter back from the Minister of Transportation saying, please confirm why you're reducing lanes, and we'll properly articulate back the why. But we've got to still have to figure this out. And the problem that we're told, and I am not an expert, sir, as you know, on this subject. The problem that we have with the stop signs is that we are told not to put them in unless the standards are hit from the side streets. And that's the first issue. The second issue is, and I'm not sure what the last study was, I'm assuming it didn't meet the criteria. That's okay, so I'm being told yes. And the second issue is that children assume everybody's going to follow the rules like they do. And adults don't do that. And the movement of people across Madeline, or, you know, Hearst, we just put an IPS over there, which is like a push the button and then you can cross the street. If the kids think you're going to stop and the drivers are used to not stopping, the result is potentially a very bad situation. Those are the 2 reasons we're told not to put stop signs in as a traffic speed reduction tool. So we're in a bit of a difficult place because it hasn't worked to date in terms of what's happening on Madeline. The traffic counts are going way up. There would be, I mean, you said 500 to 1,000 homes. I think it's probably way in excess of that when this thing's built out. And it's being used as an arterial. So I'm open, this is my position, I'm open to all ideas here. You know, maybe a stop sign attached to a raised intersection is safer than just a stop sign by itself. Maybe multiple traffic lights, and I did hear you say I don't want a traffic light because you don't think that'll work, but I'm just all options on the table. Maybe it's multiple traffic lights. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm guessing that just the road dieting is still not going to work, because just the road dieting also didn't work on Hearst Drive. It helped a bit, but you know, taking the vehicles from 70 kilometers an hour to 66 is not really what we're trying to achieve. So I'll leave it at that. I think that we have more work to do, Councilor Morales, on this. And perhaps we need to assess these different roads around the city that are experiencing these same problems. They are experiencing very, very similar problems. And when we come back with an idea, let's try to pilot out different things. That was the whole goal of the raised intersection. Let's try something that we aren't really doing right now that I found slowed me down when I'm in other cities, and go from there. But I think that the first step is to deal with this tonight and move forward. You're going to get complaints about parking on Madeline Drive. I know that. I think we all know that. There'll be complaints about parking on the side streets because there won't be any on Madeline Drive. Like there's going to be pressures that will be created by the changes, but we got to keep finding a way to make it safe on some of these difficult streets. So I'm going to stop there because I can probably go on for another hour about traffic safety in these roads. And go back. Is there any other comments before we move on? The whole thing is one matter, so you've already spoken to it, yes.
Quick point of order,
Yes.
Mayor Nuttall. Parking is being maintained on Madeline with this design proposal.
I didn't realize
Just to
that.
clarify, because those are last words you're saying. We have
Yes,
multiple
yeah,
residents
yeah, yeah.
here. Just wanted to clarify on the point of order. Can I just get a quick confirmation from staff?
I thought the parking was being taken away, so thank you, Councilor Morales.
Through, yes, Mayor Nuttall, Councilor Morales is correct. At this point, the parking will stay, and we're hoping that we would look at the kind of pre and post road diet speed data, and potentially when no parking extends further south into the new subdivision on the south side of Mapleview, then we would look at potentially doing no parking restrictions on the north side at that point. So it's a phased approach in terms of what we're looking at doing here.
Okay. I almost feel like I would ask for this piece to be referred back to staff because I misread that. I can't even speak to this again, so I can't.
You're the chair.
2 minutes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, seconded, hopefully by you. That motion 25-G-113 of section 115. That's okay. I was like, do I trust the paper? Do I trust the computer? Last time I trusted the computer, I was wrong. 115 of section B of the second general committee report concerning Madeline Drive Road Diet be referred back to staff to explore options. And I can speak to that very quickly to give context.
It's moved by Councilor Morales and seconded by Deputy Mayor Thompson that motion 25G-115 of Section B of the second report of General Committee dated May 7th, 2025 concerning Malin Drive Road Diet be referred back to staff to explore options. And if we have unanimous consent on this, we can do it this way. So all those in favor? Looks unanimous to me, so thank you. Thank you for the deputation and the time that we got to meet. If you want to hang around, you don't have to, but if you want to hang around, we'll explain a little bit during the announcement period, but we can't right now. We're going to move to the main motion as amended. And are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. And
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales, that Section D of the Second General Committee report dated May 7, 2025, now circulated, be adopted.
it's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, that Section D of the Second General Committee report dated May 7th, 2025, now circulated, be adopted. This is 25G119 regarding the Redwood Communities Loan Forgiveness Request. Are there any other questions or comments on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And it carries. That completes our general committee motions for this evening, or committee reports. We have no direct motions unless it's not been signaled. We're going to go into presentations. We have a presentation this evening from the County of Simcoe. So Mina is here with his team and going to come down to the podium. As always, I will remind you of the timing. When we invited the County of Simcoe tonight, we didn't believe the Leafs would still be in the playoffs.
The way they're playing, they won't be.
Oh, stop it, Deputy Mayor, stop it.
Good evening, Mayor Nuttall and members of council. My name is Mina Beckett. On behalf of the County of Simcoe, General Manager of Social and Community Services, I will introduce our team and we'll walk through a quick presentation and hopefully open the floor for questions. We'll try to be as brief and quick as possible, given some of the timing of tonight. So I have with me here Andrew Scavarelli, who's our Director of Housing and Homelessness Services. As well as Amy Marshall, who is our Director of Community Support and Wellbeing, which is the former Ontario Works portfolio that we've expanded to focus on other supports and wellbeing for those individuals, as well as Katie Drake, who's our new manager of the Heart Hub. So between the three, we'll put together we'll walk you through a presentation on primarily focused on how the County of Simcoe is focused on restoring safety through increased access to shelter, housing, and health supports. So if we can flip to the second slide, or slide 3. Do I have the clicker? Oh, sorry. Okay, about 2 years ago, almost to the month, I was here presenting our 10-point plan, which we introduced around our homelessness prevention strategy. And in those 10 points, there's many different approaches to how we wanted to improve housing outcomes and decrease homelessness or the impact on homelessness through our communities. A part of that plan did focus on new opportunities. And what we're going to share with you is over the last about 12 months, we had a series of very significant opportunities through both county investments, provincial investments, and federal investments that we've strategically placed in the City of Barrie and what that means moving forward. You'll hear about an increased focus on rent supplements and rent subsidy programs and to end homelessness for seniors and youth. You'll hear about modular facilities installed, land acquisitions made in order to create rapid rehousing programs to create outflow into shelters. You'll hear about federal and provincial dollars invested in encampment responses, both preemptively and in direct response. And then you'll hear about a few other strategies around our outreach, and then of course around the Heart Hub, which is a first of its kind collaboration between the Ministry of Ontario Health and the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs, focused on delivering health services to those experiencing homelessness, specifically around mental health and addiction, to result in permanent housing. So those are a few of the main topics we'll cover, and hopefully we'll be able to answer a few questions at the end. I'm going to hand it over to Andrew to take over. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mina. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor. As Mina said, my name is Andrew Skeverell. I'm the Director of Housing and Homelessness Services at the County of Simcoe. I've been in the role since about mid-December of last year, and that's actually going to queue up the first slide here where we speak about some of the one-time funding we were successful in obtaining in the county. So as you'll see from this slide deck here, it does show considerable investments that we've been able to obtain over the last little while. And some of these are new one-time funding. Some of them are existing annual funding. I think about the federal level of government for the Reaching Home Initiative. They're enhancements. Some of them are 3-year pilots, such as the Heart Hub, which you'll hear about as well this evening. So the Encampment Response Initiative was basically very short notice and little time to prepare. That came actually over the Christmas holiday in 2024. So it was about 13 days total to be able to pull together a proposal, engage our colleagues at the City of Barrie and across the county, and put together a proposal. Some of the challenges, we were obviously able to, through quite a few enhancements, reinvest a lot of outflow strategies, and I'm going to get into that in the next few slides, but it was a very challenging time because we also went into a snap election, and we literally had probably about a month to fully utilize the entire allocation. So a lot of it went to restoration within City of Barrie, and also well, I'll get into on the next slide, but the ability to enhance some existing services and supports. I guess the biggest notion that we want to get through is that we were able to increase the number of safe, accessible spaces for people living in encampments. This includes couples, seniors, individuals with pets, individuals with disabilities. So we were very responsive. I know the modulars is not a new concept to this council here, and I know you're probably familiar with the 2 modulars that we have over on Blake Street right now. So we were able to utilize some of the funding to finish the construction costs, get us through the permitting processes, and we were looking to stand up some rapid rehousing programs, and then immediate need came with our local youth shelter, Youth Haven, and we were able to actually, we had occupancy and transition that agency and 24 youth experiencing homelessness into the first modular until their new home is ready. The future state of those modulars is something that we will certainly engage in conversations around, but the rapid rehousing programs, there's opportunity for supportive housing that's tied to the Heart Hub as well. So I will say that the rapid rehousing program, I think it's important to note, it's a very critical tool as part of our ability to increase outflow opportunities from shelters, which then allow individuals that are living outdoors or that are encamped to come into the shelter spaces. We would move individuals. I'll use a youth rapid rehousing program in Orillia, a seniors rapid rehousing program in Collingwood. We're able to move lower acuity individuals, often individuals that are experiencing homelessness for the first time, have a stronger or a greater likelihood of obtaining housing and retaining housing. Those are the individuals that we would provide the opportunities to in the rapid rehousing programs. They have 24/7 supports. They work very intensively to get housed. And when we layer in additional programs such as the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit that I'm going to speak about, we've had incredible success at permanently housing individuals through the rapid rehousing programs. From there, we go back to the emergency shelters, transition those folks next, that with next strongest likelihood of being housed into the modulars. And then from there, we open up emergency shelter spaces for those encamped. Also, I can tell you for the first time ever, the County of Simcoe opened and operated warming centers, 2 of them in the City of Barrie this past winter, and it was definitely much needed. This is a winter we didn't close the doors. We were open 24/7 on Blake Street since the middle of December, and we have property on Tiffin Street. We repurposed one of our ambulance bays to bring in an additional 10 individuals. The warmer weather came in April. We decided to keep them open overnight as respite. We did layer in additional supports. We worked with our community paramedicine, mental health supports. We had our social service workers in there. We had housing workers connecting with individuals who were accessing these spaces as well. And I speak about outflow and how crucial the rapid rehousing program, the modulars, are. By layering in the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit. This is a portable housing benefit that is delivered through the province of Ontario that follows individuals. So it's not tied to a specific building unit. So these individuals who, in all likelihood, probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to have an affordable unit, by layering in this benefit, it now has, that unit becomes affordable. So it's based on income and it essentially tops them up. So their income plus the benefit makes the unit affordable. So I can tell you that we had an incredible amount of uptake. We worked so diligently. So in the past 5 months, we've allocated about 1.1 million in this benefit. And that was over, so that supported 186 households in the last 5 months. And I put in a little example because I know most of us are probably quite familiar with the Barrie Park encampment last summer. So emergency shelter, traditional shelter spaces aren't suitable for everyone. There's certain pieces that would keep someone from entering a shelter. They maybe have accessibility needs, health needs. Perhaps it's spousal, maybe they don't want to part ways with a pet. But there was 12 individuals that we supported with alternative supportive housing that were not suitable from the Barrie Park. We have permanently housed 9 of those 12. So 75% of those individuals we permanently housed, and that was strictly because of the supportive work that our service providers did, but also because of this benefit. This is such a crucial tool for us to be able to continue to address homelessness here in Simcoe County. Another great piece that we were able to do was we've been working very diligently over the last several months with Ontario Health, looking to get additional supports through Ontario Health. And I can share that some of these work is preventative. I do know that this was through our Assisted Living for Seniors Fund. We did support 77 seniors, so 55 and plus, who are currently housed, but potentially at risk of becoming homelessness due to health or other related challenges. So we worked with Loft, one of our community partners, to provide those supports, and we were able to prevent 77 individuals from potentially losing housing. Along with we have 7 domiciliary care providers throughout Simcoe County where we were able to offer the same supports. Probably more impressive is we learned from the encampment response initiatives and how quickly one-time funding comes and how much we have to have a plan in place to capitalize on funding. So we had a agreement in place with Simcoe Terrace here in the City of Barrie, and we were able to set up 30 brand new beds in an unused portion of Simcoe Terrace, specifically for seniors experiencing homelessness. Some of these seniors came from emergency shelters, some of them came from encampments. So we have 30 seniors within about a 30-day period we were able to move into 24/7 supportive housing. So again, trying to demonstrate the need of all these one-time funding opportunities that we're seeing is you have to be responsive, you have to have collaborative, and we have to align with the vision of the funder, whether it's the province of Ontario or the federal government. And I can say that, so it would have been over 45, but approximately 45 seniors we have permanently housed in the last few months, and about 80 of them prevented from potentially becoming homelessness as well. And on that note, I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Amy Marshall, and she's going to give council an introduction on the Heart Hub.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, councillors and Mayor Nuttall. With my colleague Katie and I, we're very excited and we're very passionate about sharing the information about the Heart Hub with you today. Essentially, the intent of this part of the presentation is to provide you an update as to where we are with this project and what this essentially looks like. Katie's going to walk us through what a journey through the Heart Hub could look like for a participant or someone who's accessing services. Okay, so before we start taking a look at where we are right now, I want to bring us back to how this all started. So in August of 2024, and I'll do it quick, I promise, but in August of 2024, there was a call for proposals. So essentially at that point, we were able to pull together a team of primary partners within our area. One of the requirements of this proposal, I should share, is that the service manager in the area needed to endorse the proposal. So we could endorse multiple proposals and send those through. However, as a service manager, as well as a health service provider, which is also a requirement, the County of Simcoe, along with our partners, pulled together to plan this application that was a really quick process. We all got together exceptionally quickly, worked intensively to support the application and had that submitted in October of 2024. Now, our primary partners, because I do want to highlight them because this is a true partnership as we're looking at that. So we are working with folks from Mumaway, Barrie Native Friendship Centre, Barrie Area and Ontario Health Team, RVH, so Royal Victoria Hospital, as well as Waypoint Centre for Mental Health, as well as CMHA Simcoe County Branch. I think I got everybody there. Excellent. So essentially, we all worked together to put that proposal in, and it was a lot of dedicated county time as well, and staff to formalize that and facilitate all of those pieces. Now, I do want to share that this is a demonstration project. So what that means is that we have 3 years to demonstrate the outcomes and the success of this. So it's not necessarily permanent at this point in time. So essentially, at the end of those 3 years, which started in April 2025, we will be looking at what does this look like, and it's really the outcomes of this project that will inform that. Now, basically, let's fast forward to January. We were very excited to get the notification that we were successful in the proposal. And from that point in time, our partners were dedicated to actualize this application. So what we did from January until about April, which is about phase 1, our planning process, is we really took some time to take a look at how do we bring this into actual services within our community. So a lot of those activities included client journey mapping. What would that look like for folks? It took a look at pathway design, budget reviews, how are we spending this money? What does that look like? As well as really planning outcomes and evaluations and recruitment. So that kind of brings us to our next stage that we're in right now, which is what we're calling more of a soft launch. So those key activities are really taking a look at the activation of a navigation team, which we'll explain shortly when Katie goes over the client journey. We're really looking at community engagement, so engaging our community partners, service providers, community-based organizations as part of that, because we really had to focus with our key expertise within our primary partners to inform what this will look like, and now we're also engaging within the community to do that. We are also mobilizing within the community. So we're scheduling some wellness clinics between May and June to get out there in the community, meet folks who may be eligible for Heart Hub services, and get started right away with some specific services, not the full launch, but some services that are more available immediately. We are also taking a look at working with supporting kind of those basic needs and those supports within the community with folks, and then also really looking at onboarding and specific training and development for all Heart Hub staff. That then leads us to our full launch. So we're looking at about July 2025 that we are going to fully launch all of our services, which is a wide range of mental health and addiction services, from treatment service to recovery services, supportive housing, primary health care, as well as services related to social and human services. So we really will be fully launching those. They're trauma-informed, they're culturally safe, practices built into those services, as well as locally tailored to our needs here in this community. So that's then going to bring us to our next phase, which is really kind of that expansion. So once we have everything kind of going, our intention is, how do we expand this across the county? How do we support as many folks as we can, and that is going to be eligible for Heart Hub related services, and that would be our goal here. Now, one of the things that we do want to highlight is the vision is to build upon existing services, existing healthcare practices, existing teams, and then really building those pathways, building those access points throughout, because that's really going to be, that integrated approach is really what's going to be useful for folks. So what I want to do is I'm just going to pass it over to Katie. So she's going to walk you through what this could look like. So go ahead.
Again, my name is Katie. I'm the new manager of the Heart Hub at the County of Simcoe. So I'm going to do my best to walk you through a simplified client journey of what someone might experience if they were accessing services through the Heart Hub. Again, it's an integrated service approach, so we are working with all of our partners to kind of navigate an individual through what already exists and those services that we've expanded on. Our primary partners are focused more on health related, and we are going to engage with our service providers and the folks that do the frontline work in the shelters and things like that with the clients, because they're going to be our first point of access. So all of our clients are going to come through the certified by names list through coordinated access, which is a list that is generated through a program called HIFIS that indicates who is homeless or experiencing homelessness in the County of Simcoe. We will take that list, and then what is called our navigation team will support an outreach to reach out to those clients to explain what services are offered, to do an intake with them to see what services that they require. On that navigation team is a worker from our community support and wellbeing department at the County of Simcoe, a peer support worker through one of our Indigenous organizations, a case manager through one of our Indigenous organizations, a outreach worker through CMHA, and a peer support worker through CMHA. As a team, they will work together to speak to the client, to explain the services, to kind of navigate through what they need. So that may be basic needs, connection to income sources. At any point in their client journey, they can opt to end services, but they are followed with that navigation through a continuity of care to access all of the supports that we have. The first step through the Heart Hub support services is a withdrawal management. So that is your detox, your supportive treatment, and your treatment. Once someone has moved through that kind of stage of the continuum, then they are working with supportive housing. So they will go through their supportive housing journey, access any of the supports that you see listed up there. So mental health and addictions, community-based supports, addiction treatment, primary care connections. We have some access to psychiatrists, things like that, as well as our connection to income supports, employment supports, anything that the client might need to be successful, and then ultimately moving into permanent housing. Throughout their entire journey, that navigation team moves with them to support them where they are, to access those services, to help move them through those services so that the journey is a little bit more smoother. Those referral pathways are connected straight to that navigation team, so it's a seamless approach to them to make it through that journey. Over to Mina. Yes.
So that's as quick as we can possibly do that. So I'm sorry, we tried. That being said, we're happy to answer questions if there's any questions too.
There was 3 separate presentations, and so they were each 5 minutes. It was perfect. You nailed it. There's definitely going to be questions. Before we go to questions from the floor, I want to thank you for the update. This is obviously a considerable amount of work that's occurred over a long period of time, and it feels like a long period of time, but it's in the past 6 months, it's all come in really condensed, right? And so it's not perfect in the sense that everything's being done on the run, but it's being done, and I think that is a considerable step forward, not just for our community, but for like Ontario as a whole, quite frankly, where we're seeing it go. The one stat I got to ask you: 75% of the folks who were in Bursey Park have maintained permanent housing.
Yep, that's correct.
And before we deal with the 75, the 25, are they back out in the community, or are they receiving services?
So of the remaining 25, they're still housed or sheltered, receiving services. When being sheltered, it doesn't necessarily mean they're continuously sheltered. They may come in and out of shelter. But based on our tracking, for those who accepted offers back in August, I believe it was 19 out of 25. 12 required different types of services. Of those 12, 9 have been permanently housed, 3 are still looking. of those who are in and out of shelter, they're still being supported with our traditional supports. It's what we'd like to say, it's a very good pilot of what a streets to homes model looks like, where you take someone literally from outside, consistently work with them to ultimately result in housing, permanent housing.
I know working through the encampment issue doesn't necessarily bring everyone onto the same page all the time. I've been pretty vocal on this. 75%, if you asked me if there's a solution that helps 75% of the people get to permanent housing and hopefully stability, I would be jumping up and down. And I don't say that lightly because my 1 foot I probably shouldn't jump on. But seriously, that is incredible work by your team, by Wendy's team. And I know, Wendy, you and your team helped through that process. And so I just want to say thank you. Not just for the city and not just for the people around this table, but for those 9 out of 12 that are like in a permanent situation, like that's life-changing stuff and awesome. So thank you. I'm going to give up the floor and go to the table. I'm going to go with Councillor Kungle, then Councillor Riepma, and get ready because you're in the question zone now.
Maybe I've got two questions in particular. But I remember the day that you, I think, just started at Simcoe County and you came within, I'll say hours of probably your new position, and that I had never felt so hopeful about the shift and the type of conversation we were having as you laid out your very preliminary 10-point plan. So my compliments, I think, as to Mayor Nettle's conversation, is it's quite inspiring, but the comprehensive approach, you're managing something that I try to appreciate, but the dynamics and complexities of all of the work that you're doing and what you're touching on in a portfolio itself, not to mention all the other interdependencies, is quite impressive. But I do applaud the team because it's not easy work. But you're doing a phenomenal job, so I thank you. The two questions I have through you, Mr. Fayez-Baguette, whether you want to answer them, I think they were more to the presentation section by Mr. Scavarelli. And it was on the COHB funding, and it was maybe just some commentary that I picked up on. I think you indicated that you had put in over $1 million in this funding pot. And I just wanted to understand, because it is so impactful about that top up to then bring into an affordability opportunity. So is that a fluid amount of money you position and goes through Simcoe County budget or within operations? So how does that get determined, and is it sustainable, or is this something that you're seeing as a growth area or one that has some vulnerability if it's not permanent funding?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, thanks for the comments, Councillor Kungle. Just before we start, I do want to recognize Wendy's team and the bylaw team on that Bursey Park, because that was an everyday constant effort, and it was a really good example how enforcement and supports can work together. So I didn't mention that, and as well, just recognize the team. So it's not just me. We have a really strong and dedicated team that really worked around the clock, especially in the holidays when some of these applications were coming through right till the last minute, sweeping and waiting on permits and things like that to open up that warming center and all those other spaces we opened up. So just want to recognize that as well. In terms of your question, the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit is provided by the province in a multi-year agreement. And each year it's renegotiated, like the portion that the federal government contributes to the province is renegotiated. So we get, on average, we've averaged between actually 1.5 and 1 million in each of the different years. And what we try to do is use it as, it is the absolute most flexible tool to solve housing issues for those who are seeking housing because of its flexibility, as Director Scavarelli had shared earlier. But what we decided to do this year is be strategic with it, put it towards people that are trying to bring them in, using it as an incentivized tool, or when they come inside, use it in rapid rehousing. It's the fastest way to get people rehoused, and again, creating that outflow or more space in the shelter system. In terms of, it is time limited with another renegotiation happening through the federal and provincial governments. There was an agreement in principle with the province of Ontario and the federal government prior to the election. the federal election. So we await and see, assuming the same levels, we've planned accordingly. However, we at the County of Simcoe also introduced a municipal rent supplement program, and we're significantly increasing that funding through this year's budget, the 25 budget and proposed 26 budget, as a backstop. So while we're not relying on it, we hope we don't need to, but if not, we will. In terms of the rapid encampment initiative dollars or the response dollars, there was a component in that funding letter that they gave us an additional 15. And we, again, strategized because we had the 2 rapid rehousing programs live at that time. We just applied them against those, exited seniors or youth out of those programs into permanent housing, and then doubled down and created more space in those units for the encampment to be able to absorb more people from outside. So for now, the funding's safe. We do have a backstop.
Thank you for that. Maybe a comment / question. You don't have to answer it in this spot, but you go. I'll make it general and I'll frame it to Rebecca James Reed. It might be more political from Mayor Nuttall, but I would love for us to explore before we go to AMO about whether or not that's a key message that our delegations can take forward, if it's also being something reflective of Simcoe County Council and representatives from the region. If, again, as I think, Mina, you're saying, you've got, and as you have been planning, all these other contingencies, but really about making sure that that's not a vulnerable amount of money. If we can echo the benefit we've been feeling as housing individuals, specifically in Barrie, and the impact of that, I think it would be maybe quite strategic of us to make sure that's not a missed opportunity. So I'll let Ms. James Reed comment to that if you would like. Otherwise, I'll leave it as a comment if I've put you on the spot anyway. You can answer. You want to hurry up and do it now?
Through you, Deputy Mayor Thompson, to Councillor Kungle, we certainly can include that in our request. The timing is perfect because the requests are due the end of this May, and I can work with Mina on that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. James Reed. And then my last question through you, Mayor Nuttall. And again, it was a piece on the housing presentation, and I think it was with respects to the 77 seniors. And I don't want to misquote you, Mr. Scavarelli, but I think I heard you say that, you know, there was some aspects there where there was a vulnerability of losing housing, and it had to do with some health aspects. And I didn't know if this was transition from a bed to hospital, and how we look at beds. I don't want to apply other pieces like how we think about beds in long-term care and others, but didn't know if you could shed some light on where that vulnerability sat with those seniors, and if there's ways in which we can reduce the risk outside of the funding, or if that's more of a quick stop to retain housing, or if there's other factors still around vulnerability for those seniors.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall. Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so the 77, they were identified through the Simcoe County Housing Corporation's affordable housing units. And through the tenant navigators, they were collaboratively with staff from Loft and identified through their typical day-to-day operations that these are individuals that probably require more intensive supports in order to keep them housed in their current setting. Otherwise, you know, they could become reliant on, you know, health-related beds, or potentially, if there are some other pieces that aren't health-related, there are some housing pieces that we sometimes refer to as well. They could potentially even become homeless. So they worked very intensively with the 77 individuals throughout the Simcoe County Housing Corporations to keep them housed in their units.
Great, thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
I have no more questions.
Councillor Rima.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to echo what Councillor Kungle just said. I think that your team has done a terrific job, and it's a tough job. And so that's one that I really appreciate. And I think the other person or people to thank is the federal and provincial government, because you know, your slide number 4 is we got $15 million more. And it seems to me that, you know, we definitely need the money in order to be able to do the service. It's simple as that. So I'm the councillor for Ward 1. So I want to ask you about Blake Street. And I want to ask you about what's happening there and what your plans are.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, thank you, Councillor Reitma. Yes, so Blake Street was one of the significant investments the County of Simcoe made here in the City of Barrie. It was a $6 million purchase of a former dealership that we've creatively used in different ways. So beginning in the winter, once we closed on the property in I think mid-November, and we opened it in mid-December, December 20th. We didn't want the property to go unused through a hard winter. So the first idea was to use it as a warming center and a respite program that was open 24 hours to bring people inside, especially in the extreme winter that we had. That was a great collaborative effort with here at the City of Barrie, getting our permits and our occupancy all done so that we could hit the winter and hit the ground running. So that's an example of it being used for short-term temporary use. Then again, as we're entering into our phase 1 development at Rose Street here at the City of Barrie, hopefully next month you'll all get invited to a groundbreaking. We had to relocate our Rose Street modular that we were using in a similar fashion a few winters before that. So Blake Street was a great place to relocate it. And then again, working on pulling that together, federal government gave us one-time funding, so we had an opportunity to buy another one. So might as well deliver both at the same time. So we were able to install 2 at the same time, which was serendipitous timing in terms of saving some costs on that. So this is an example of using it in a flexible way, rapid rehousing, temporarily assisting the youth program who has seen delays in their own development, not have to spend $50,000 a month in rental costs of a motel. So it's a better and more suitable place. It has a social and communal spaces. So there's different ways to use Blake Street is the short answer. The long answer, our vision is that those 2 modular facilities will be one of the referral pathways for supportive housing, like staging and triage for people who finish recovery, finish treatment, and are going to be set up for more permanent, like supportive housing or permanent housing. They come into this program. It'll be staffed by CMHA, one of the partners, and what they'll be doing there is placing them based on need in more appropriate housing across the City of Barrie and the County of Simcoe, depending on where they want to ultimately end up. I think that's the more medium-term vision of it. And of course, the longer term is to repurpose the dealership and take that building and turn it into something else that offers space for people to receive services and for those who are doing all the clinical work to have offices and be really touchdown spaces. So we envision things where you can get access to urgent care, primary care, things like dentists and pharmacists and things like that. That's also open to the public as well. Finally, on that other side of the property is a large parking lot. This year, the County of Simcoe is actually, for the first time in Collingwood, developing a 3-story apartment building that's fully modular. So we're really taking a close look at that model. It brings to market 30 to 40 units in less than 18 months. So we're hoping that could be where the referral pathways continue and create just more mixed income permanent housing at the City of Barrie. So that will be a part of the larger stage of creating more housing in Barrie in order to get people through the different referral pathways.
A follow-up. Thank you for that. And that certainly sounds like you've got a plan thinking ahead, and I think that's a terrific. On Tiffin, we have the ambulance station. There was also some discussion about an additional building there. Can you tell us what the status of that is?
So Tiffin, it's a little different on Tiffin. Tiffin is a temporary lease location that we have a 5-year lease. So what we did is we continued that lease. Similarly, we wanted to use the existing structure for things like respite and warming, which is what we did in the winter. Again, we didn't want it to stay empty. In the summer, we're hoping to do some different services there, drop-in services, support services, access to food services. There's an open lot that's part of that lease agreement on that property. And there we've been trying to size another modular facility, a larger scale one that could be a 50 or a 40 to 50 bed program. And that one, again, will kind of operate within the system to complement things like swing space, creating more shelter or more space to bring people inside. Similar kind of inflow, outflow strategies, create more beds overall, but also create more fast outflows. So we're exploring right now the dimensions of how to do that and the servicing components of that. Again, we like modular because it's faster. And rather than build stuff from scratch, we can put up stuff quickly. So that's the goal there. I know that the shelter system will be doing a lot of that drop-in programming. We liked the respite programs that we did over the winter because it kept people engaged. And we were then able, as both Andrew and Amy had shared, deliver different services like community paramedicine, mental health and addiction supports, other services while they're there and they're engaged. So similar approach, probably for a different population or group than what Blake would be intended for.
And my final question has to do with the Heart Hub and its operations. So in July, August, when you get started, right now we have RAM clinics that are run by RVH. And I guess my real question is, do you see an expansion of the capacity at those clinics in conjunction with the better services, if you will, or the more extended services that are going to come through the Heart Hub system?
I'm going to let the Heart Hub team take that one.
Sorry. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to you, Councillor. We are working, RVH is one of our primary partners, so we are working with them to expand on existing services to accommodate our Heart Hub clients as well as clients who access those services right now. So to answer you, yes. Amy, I'm not sure if you have anything extra to add, but.
No, absolutely. So I think part of the biggest piece to consider is that we will be having some of the existing pieces, but some of the funding and the budgetary aspects of this project will be to increase and have some net new related services. So more services available for people in the community. So that's the idea.
Okay. Thank you. That's it.
I have Councillor Harris.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you, team. This is a great initiative, and congratulations on the success with supporting the folks who were at Bursey Park. People don't aspire to live in parks. That's not where they aspire to be, and barring better options or different options, that's sometimes where people end up, and great that you were able to provide better options for those people and that they're maintaining their housing. And curious, and I don't know if you know the the outcomes, but of those people, how many had addiction issues, and how are they treated, and is that part of their recovery story as we see them housed?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, thank you for the question, Councillor Harris. To be fully transparent, I think the answer there is no. Like, what we do is we offer services. Our outreach program, which we've updated and kind of enhanced this year as well, with a one sole provider being the overhead, like managing the program now. It's their intention to capture information more confidentially, engage with consent. When someone consents to be offered a service and come inside, we then attach to that program 24-hour supports, so to address those things and triage them. I would anticipate, just knowing the statistical averages, I'm sure there were people that there was different health needs and other services offered. And because the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit dealt with the rent, the challenge of rent and the cost of rent, I'm sure there's probably other supports that got them housing ready. And I would imagine those supports were both health and just life skill and life and well-being supports.
Yeah. Thank you. Maybe follow up that. Yeah, and not surprised. I understand. That wasn't a part of a plan like the Heart Hub will be. And I'm curious with the Heart Hub, certainly with addictions being one of the primary focuses, what will be like the evaluation, and is there any research happening? Because these are new. These are, I think, really smart investments. And curious again that ability to maintain housing and then to manage one's substance use such that they're not using police and hospitals and losing their housing. So wondered if what part of the evaluation, maybe research, is included in this Heart Hub model.
So I'll hand it over to the Heart Hub team again to answer that specifically on the evaluation piece. But generally speaking, when we did our rapid rehousing pilot in the summer of 2023, we evaluated what the difference was for the 20, or I think it was like 17 or 18 people that got permanently housed out of that program, the cost diversion of shelters, the cost diversions of healthcare services, emergency room services, and the cost diversion of justice center or incarcerations or other interactions. And it's a considerable like dollar value of cost diversion of just the actual usage for those 19 people that I believe it was over 500 days of shelter use and in and out of use from those other systems. Thereafter, the first day of permanent housing, that cost diversion then starts to compound into like even a growing number of services. So we're confident that these type of programs, if they're carefully planned and well implemented, are going to have a considerable change or difference on those systems, those other systems that are impacted. But specifically to Heart Hub, how we're going to evaluate it, the team can kind of share a little bit.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. Essentially, right now, because it is a demonstration project, there will be key evaluation data that we will be required to collect and report to the province. So that information and sorting some of those pieces out is still under development and as part of the implementation plan. Aside from that, the clinical expertise of our partners are also going to come into play with taking a look at how do we want to best evaluate following the guidelines that are going to be set out by the province and as well as Ontario Health, but as well as taking a look at what do we want to know locally, what do we want to be able to see, what do we want to evaluate, and what will that look like. So those are essentially being planned right now as we speak, essentially, and we'll have those in play by the time we're that fully launched. Katie, anything else to add to that? Thank you.
Great. Maybe just like more of a curious question around Heart Hub. The A is for addiction. Just curious, in mental health and addiction, there's been lots of effort not to silo the two. If someone's primary diagnosis was a mental health issue, serious mental illness, would they be excluded or included in the services?
Yeah, so included. It is concurrent or dual, but it doesn't preclude. The beauty of the partnership is, and even prior to us getting granted, we talked about in the alternative of being successful, we'd still keep the team together to try to coordinate services for common clients. So for us, if you saw in that last diagram, there's a catch-all for someone who chooses to exit or doesn't qualify to still continue to get the other services offered so that they're not left alone and away from the system. So for those who participate, the answer is yes, especially if it's just mental health or addiction. But for those who choose not to or don't, for some reason, don't qualify in, they're still supported through that navigation team to get them to the right, more appropriate services. So they're not left and just rejected and turned away.
That's awesome. Thank you. Just curious, is there a connection to this work and then the eventual access to units at the Rose Street property? Is that kind of expected that there would be some sort of connection?
So through you, Mayor Nuttall, no, not directly. So the way we see Rose Street is a catalyst for creating more affordable housing. What we want to do is look at our Simcoe County Housing Corporation properties. If you remember, a couple years ago, we identified 2 properties, part of the 10-point strategy, where we wanted to convert affordable community housing into supportive housing. So right now, we're 5 units into one of the properties in Barrie. What Rose Street will do will allow us to then ask those clients if they're interested in getting a new unit in Barrie. That would open up all 30 units. And there you have a dedicated permanent housing option for those participating in Heart Hub that's more appropriate, that will be set up with on-site supports. So the idea is by creating net new housing, you could start to move around your properties to create openings so that you could dedicate it for more specific health-based service. Our experience has been, even with Aurelia, we know that we need to end homelessness using these units, but we want to do it in a strategic way that allows people to come with supports. And if they're intensive supports, then they need to be in a more appropriate base program, but we create it through the creation of more housing.
Thank you. And final question, Mayor Nuttall, the Leafs are losing, so we don't need to go anywhere. It's great that I think you have the right partners, and kudos to have this partnership with all those that you mentioned. Just wondering, Councillor Reba mentioned the RAM Clinic and leveraging the RAM Clinic as it relates to the connection to the Heart Hub. Wondering with other TerraHealth funded programs like addiction supported housing initiatives, which have rent subs and support dollars, will they be centered with the Heart Hub, or is that part of the discussion around how we bring the resources from the variety of those partners, including rent subs, which are absolutely wonderful tools to help people both obtain and maintain housing? Is that part of the plan to bring those resources into the Heart Hub?
Through you, Mayor Nuttall. Yes, Councillor Harris. So in the current first, pilot of this, we have CMHA, who is a recipient of both mental health and rent supplement programs. So there's a commitment there. The strategy that we use, because the County of Simcoe has rent subs, and so they do, we don't want to use any of the 1.3 million that's used for rent supplements to do the rent sub component. We want it all to go to the supportive housing work. And then we contribute in kind our rent supplements to that, so that we actually extend that 1.3 and hopefully can serve as many people as possible. If you saw at the end there of phase 4, we want to create spokes to this program in other parts of the county, leveraging kind of the partnership and doing in-kind services as well. So that's where we anticipate to reach out to other funded agencies that have similar funding pockets and align with them. We often find these programs, the mental health support with rent supplement programs that are funded to the other agencies, struggle to find landlord partners. So we're offering to be that landlord partner. That way we can activate more hubs, or spokes, sorry.
And one quick question. So I may have lost it. I really appreciate the idea, like having the county be that, because getting the housing can be very challenging. So maybe that was my last question, so maybe I'll stop there. So thanks, Mayor Nuttall.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Nixon, and then I have Councillor Corser.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, and to all of you, thank you very much for a great presentation. And I also remember, a year and a half, 2 years ago, listening to the 10-point the first time and really feeling optimistic. And I don't think it's exaggerating to say that, the homeless issue and the mental health and addiction issue is, aside from natural disasters that this city has seen over the decades, I don't think it's exaggerating to say that this is one of the most critical, important things that we as a city and a province and a country have had to deal with. And I thank you for sharing some positive results, and nothing succeeds like success sometimes, and it's never going to be one thing. I mean, I get my fair share of phone calls and emails, you realize it's not. It's going to be many small successes, and I think that's what we're seeing now. So my question, I guess, is, other than funding, what do you feel your biggest challenge is to get to the next step?
Great question. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, thank you, Councillor Nixon, for the question. I think we talk about it a lot. It is a participatory system, and we have to be able to build meaningful relationships, not only with our funded agency providers who do the really hard work every day and make sure that they're well funded, but also that they're well trained and have the skills to engage more and more complex clients. So partnership development, I think, has always been a challenge with the health sector, and I think this is a really good first step of us engaging them in a different way. I think the other challenge too is just building the trust with the community of people experiencing homelessness in order to get them to engage us with real outcomes. I think in the past history of homelessness, there's always been these time-limited programs that often fall apart towards the end, and then people end up back at step one. So I'm hoping continuity of the service and these opportunities, aren't so time-limited. That's why we really are focused on the evaluation components of this. We want this to be a permanent program here, and not just a 3-year pilot.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nixon. Now, Councillor Corser.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, to our esteemed guests, wow, cape and tights, you did an incredible job. I can't imagine the pressure that you would be under. I don't envy anyone that has to put together these type of programs or cobble them together as quickly as possible, as well as you had under such tight deadlines. It was I'm confused as why those deadlines were so short. But I guess you can't lift a gift horse in the mouth. But I do have some questions because I remember the first time, maybe the first time you came in to see us, not outreach groups within Barrie, but some higher level advocacy groups had tipped me off about the by name list being used in a less ethical manner. And I see that you're overseeing outreach now, so I'm taking it that that bias issue has been investigated, resolved.
Through you, Mayor Nuttall, thank you for the question, Council Cursor. I think generally speaking, the by name list is a certified list, meaning that we have our federal funding partners that allowed us to, we show them the process, how we do coordinated access, our prioritization, and they certified its accuracy. So that happened about 2 years ago. Okay. And since then, we've instituted a set of standards for outreach, for shelter providers, for anyone who's doing intake to get people onto the by names list. Coordinated access is a third-party service right now that ensures people are prioritized based on that prioritization standard. So the likelihood of it being used differently depends on how people are. It is, again, participatory, meaning people have to give their assessment of what their needs are to their service worker, who then inputs that into a database that then prioritizes. So it's as strong as the accuracy of the information being included, like any other database. And maybe Director Scavarelli can talk a little bit about compliance and a little bit about review on how we keep it.
Sure. Through you, Mayor Nuttall, maybe I'll just go back a bit, and I know you referenced outreach, so I can share that. Very early this year, we did go through a new RFP process to award a contract for assertive outreach. So we revisited the deliverables, key deliverables, and expectations around outreach, and I can share that starting June 1st. That contract has been awarded to Waypoint Center for Mental Health and Addiction. So Waypoint will be leading assertive outreach efforts through a consortium across Simcoe County. And just going back, I mean, we've been working very diligently with our community partners, reestablishing program guidelines. The work we do has changed. It's evolved immensely over the last several years, and just the complexities that we're seeing. So perhaps previous ways of working and guidelines, are no longer as applicable as perhaps they once were. And so I'm very confident in saying that we've had a lot of great collaborative talks, and I think we're on the right path, and we're all working towards the same mission, and we've had a couple community planning days as well. And when I say the same mission, all of our funded providers that we work with, our mission is to end homelessness here in Simcoe County.
Thank you very much. That's all the questions I had. Wonderful job. Thank you. I remember the 10-point program, and I remember getting misty-eyed about it when you came in, and I'm really happy with the outcome of all this in the end. Thank you.
Well, I think that is it for council's questions this evening. I have one question, one line of questioning. It's not more than one question. How difficult, and I'm going to ask you to remove the politics of both your and my organization out of this, okay? And you know where I'm going, and he hates this, but it's important for our residents to understand why Blake Street, why the different locations. How difficult is the journey been to find locations?
Okay, I'll answer. Mayor Nuttall, I think, my experience has been across all communities I've worked in. I've worked at the City of Toronto, I've worked at the Region of Waterloo. Finding space for putting a suitable service is not easy anywhere you go. There's a lot of trepidation to what it brings to the community. My experience here has been a bit different in terms of the willingness of both the City of Barrie and the County of Simcoe to invest. No one batted an eye when we found a suitable space like Rose Street, or Blake Street, or the properties on Birch and things like that were donated, to go ahead and invest in social services and social work. I think actually this community probably champions social services in a different way than I've seen in my career. In terms of actual locations and places, it is a bit tricky for a few reasons. One, transportation and public transit isn't necessarily fully developed in different, it's similar to other municipalities of this size. And while I know that's a huge challenge to get past, and the county is a large geography, so it limits where you can go. That's probably one of the challenges, I would say. The second challenge, again, is not political. Like I said, the support is there, the funding is there, both federally, provincially, and municipally. Everyone's investing in solutions. I think the second challenge, too, for us is the different types of homelessness. People just use that word and it's a broad brush, but our homeless here is very different. The majority of our homeless is hidden and couch surfing. The other side of it is like the urbanized areas, yes, have a significant portion of the visible homelessness. Here in Barrie, Aurelia, and Midland are probably the leaders in visibility of homelessness. So again, that leaves you with lesser options in terms of visibility of homelessness. Encampments is a new, the significant size of encampments is a more newer challenge. Like we've always had hidden encampments and what we would used to call ravine strategies, or people who are just survivalists more than homeless. They didn't have a fixed address, but they didn't necessarily want or need to engage the system traditionally, like shelters and things like that. So for us, I think like the challenge is in urban locations is how do you place services that are close to your centers where people are spread out getting services from different areas. You get a meal from one area, you get a shower from another, you get a bed in another area. And how do you do that in a way that you follow that same common client throughout that journey? So I think things like the Heart Hub are new and show that referral pathway from one to the other in a very focused, person-centric focused way with consistent support. So yeah, those challenges were in the absence of those partnerships, in the absence of that funding opportunity, it was a bit disjointed. So when you place, a shelter in like location A, how close is it for them to access all these other spread out services? So our vision is to try to centralize those services in every program we run. So people don't have to leave locations to seek services in an inconvenient way. So then transit doesn't necessarily be the key driver to your decision making. So I think for us, it's always not easy, but quite frankly, we relied on our own assets. And that's something I would like to challenge all of our community partners to look at those assets, whether you're a nonprofit, a charitable organization, a religious entity, whatever, that there's underutilized assets that we can partner with. So you'll see in our 10-year affordable housing and homelessness strategy, our 10-year large plan, you'll see in that those approaches, private-public partnerships, private-nonprofit partnerships, public-nonprofit partnerships. So we're trying to engage those sectors to help in the solution, which then again maximizes your opportunities for space, location, and that already exists. So you don't have to use land acquisition. One of the key points of our 10-year strategy is we do not want to invest in land acquisition. It's incredibly expensive and completely changes the narrative of how affordable you can make a property when you spend 30% of your cost just buying it. So I think that's kind of the long answer, but certainly, I don't believe that the challenge has been politically. I think the challenge has been systemically here in the county. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You have a very complex area that, tons of different demographics inside Barrie, inside Aurelia, inside the, other suburban areas around the county, and then the rural areas. It's not an easy job, and I've said this before. I've been critical of the county on some things. This is not an area that I'm critical of the county on, and I think that as we move forward, it'll become increasingly clear that what we've strived for ever, which is 15 years in my book, of coordinating services, getting rid of the silos, getting healthcare, mental health, and social services to work as one functioning unit. While it won't happen overnight, we're getting there. And that is, I think, what we've all asked for. I remember speaking with Councillor Hamilton about that, Councillor Kungle, Councillor Courser, Councillor Negussi, obviously, speaking with Councillor Reitman and Nixon, who, have the centralized, I think, issues now, it has been around the table, and to see it move forward, we're very happy. There's going to be growing pains. You're going to get lots of calls from Councillor Reitman and myself, and probably some from Councillor Nixon as well. But we all recognize you're going in the right direction, and for all those who don't believe that governments work together, I think that what you're demonstrating is that the federal government, the provincial government, the county government, and the city government, along with your 32 municipalities, are actually functioning as a single unit in this case. And that is a good example to set for the social services in our community. So thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you for having us.
The deputy mayor is getting hangry at the moment, and Deputy Dude. We're going to move on to inquiries. Are there any inquiries around the table? Seeing none, we're going to go to announcements. Deputy Dude. There's none from Deputy Mayor Thompson. Any other announcements around the table? Councillor Degusi.
Thank you, Mayor Nadal. This afternoon, Mayor Nadal and myself participated in a flag-raising ceremony to recognize Apraxia Awareness Month. Apraxia of speech is a motor of speech disorder that makes it difficult for children to speak clearly and consistently. It is not caused by muscle weakness, but by a brain challenge in planning the movement required for speech. Early diagnosis and speech therapy play a vital role in helping children find their voice. Today, we stand in solidarity with family, advocate, and professionals working to raise awareness and support those affected by apraxia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Negusi. And just before you leave here this evening, and thanks for hanging in there with us, I just wanted to explain what happened earlier. We referred the motion itself back to staff so that council can work with our public servants inside of the traffic department to see if there's more to be done in order to work on the safety on Madeline Drive. And the other thing I just wanted to highlight is Councillor Morales has also identified, I think there was an issue with the recycling garbage vehicles and where they're stopping right kind of towards the turn in Madeline. And that is going to be worked on by Ms. Mack, who I think is, Ms. Oakley, sorry. Yeah. You put your hand up there for someone else's advocate. So thank you for that, Ms. Oakley. If you can make sure we do get back to Councillor Morales so that it can be passed back to the residents in the area. So both of those items are being dealt with. It'll come back to General Committee and Council again in the future. So it has not been approved as it was written tonight. Okay? Yeah, 100%. We actually communicated better there than I think I do with my wife. That was like he mouthed me something. I knew what he was talking about, and we're gonna chat tomorrow morning. Yeah, that's right. I'm clearly I haven't eaten in too long because I'm not thinking. Okay, I've got a few announcements, unless there's announcements over here. Councillor Corser.
Well, spring has sprung again, and I have been voluntold for the third year in a row that we're going to have our Ward 4 Spring Celebration on Saturday, May 24th. Rain date will be Sunday, May 25th from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. at Sunnydale Park. So we'll have live acoustic music in the park, kids' activities, face painting, giant Jenga, and the kids' axe throwing was so much fun last year, and no one got injured. So we're doing it again this year. And that will be provided by First Barrie Foresters Scout Troop. There will be light lunch and refreshments, and the City of Barrie will share details on upcoming curbside collection changes. Barrie Public Library will be on hand with their BPL on the Go e-trike. And you can, out your library card, you can sign up for a library card or update your library card on the spot there. Redwood Park Communities will be launching once again, they'll be launching their YIMBY week event at our Ward 4 celebration. The Furniture Bank will be there to accept gently used furniture donations for marginalized families. And Firebird Community Cycle will offer bike tune-up tips, a chance to purchase quality pre-loved bikes, and the ability to donate unused bikes. Once again, that will be on Saturday, May 24th between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. at Sunnydale Park, right next to the playground. And we're looking forward to having all Ward Fair residents out to visit us and build community.
Thank you, Councillor Corser. Now, this is my first time being able to do this because it usually gets taken by somebody else. The city is inviting residents to participate in the 2025 Communities in Bloom program by sharing photos of their gardening and beautification efforts. This year's theme is Edible Gardens. The submission deadline is the 20th of June, 2025, and for further information, you can visit barrie.ca/communitiesinbloom or call Councillor Kungle. The city invites local businesses and employers to participate in the Business and Employer Data Survey. City staff begun conducting door-to-door engagement with local businesses in the commercial and industrial areas of our city. Businesses may also complete an online survey. So for that information, you can visit buildingbarrie.ca/business data survey. Nominations are being accepted for the 7th Annual Mayor's Innovation Awards. These awards celebrate the year's most creative solutions for businesses, individuals, community groups, and even healthcare providers in the City of Barrie, like we had last year. The submission deadline is June 30th, 2025. For further information, please visit investbarrie.ca/innovation. Yeah. A lot of people saying, thank the Lord for that, you know. Nominations are now being accepted for the Order of the Spirit Catcher Award. These awards are to recognize citizens, adult, youth, and senior who made outstanding contributions in the community, and the deadline to submit a nomination form is the 30th of May. So that's coming up at the end of this month. Further information to obtain a nomination form, please visit barrie.ca/government news. Also, applications are now being accepted for the 2025 Recreation and Sport Grant. The application deadline is the 6th of June, 2025. For further information, please visit barrie.ca/community grant. There'll be no committee or council meetings next week. You get a break, and we will resume on the 28th of 2025. That leads us to bylaws, and that's Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor Nuttall. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time on this day and finally passed. Bill 41.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, that leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be ready first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. This is Bill 41. Any questions or comments with regards to Bill 41? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Morales. Leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Bill 42.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor Thompson, seconded by Councilor Morales, the confirmation bylaw, that leave be granted to introduce the following bill, and this bill be ready first, second, and third time this day and finally passed. Bill 42. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, it carries. Can I get a motion to adjourn? I see Councilor Harris and Councilor Negussi. All those in favor of adjournment. We are adjourned at 9:13 p.m. on Wednesday night. Thank you, everyone.